great thing that there's an opportunity to be a woman in leadership today, and working both to help other women advance in our society and societies around the world, but also playing a leadership role to help all people, advance in the ways that they can.
I think that especially the black female, the black woman, at least in my own experience, in my own community, in my own family, they're kind of like the heart, the backbone. You see it a lot in our black communities where the women are very vocal. They're kind of like our leaders, our elders. They've raised families, raised other families. Have been involved in the church, activism, things like that. So they're very much, I guess, the heart of our communities. Like, I come from a single parent household, so my mom is very much the heart of our family. My grandmother is the heart of our family. My aunts have played a big role in my life as well. So I think the black woman is really instrumental in a lot of our communities.
Well, being a woman and being in a leadership role, it means to give strength to who we are and come from maybe a past, or actually there's lots of inequality still today, and so to really, I don't know where I'm going with this.
Sounds good.
The only way that we're really going to be able to not have this inequality is for you not to be able to ask that question. Be like, why is it that we have to be recognized as women in leadership? And until we have, we don't have to talk about this anymore, it's going to be an issue. So, but whether true equality can ever be reached, I'm unsure.
Today, for me, it's about making my community safer and about being a role model for the people in my community. So, making it a safe place and a good place for my children to grow up, because this has become my community. It's my second time back here. So it is where my children are going to be raised. I'm not just here for a short time. As the song goes, I'm here for a long time. So it's about that. And then being a role model for those that I supervise, as well as people outside of the RCMP, to see that, when I was growing up, we had a municipal force and there was no female members. And many years ago, there was no female police officers at all. So to be able to be that person that you can look at and say, okay, everything's possible.
There's only been 2 female councillors in the history of Antigonish County. And I've been here for 20 years. I'm a retired teacher, so I came from teaching field to council.
No, they're fairly used to having females. The two previous rectors were both female and younger, so they're more used to it, which is really good. A lot of Nova Scotia spots are still not necessarily getting used to it, but we have still some conservative areas, so yeah, it was good that they were already used to it and accustomed to it.
I worked in Indonesia as a rural development advisor in the 80s on a rural development project, and when I was taken out to the communities and villages in the area where I was working and first introduced to people, I was introduced as Mrs. Mary Coyle, and she's our new advisor. She's a woman, but she's just like a man. That's how I was introduced. And that was so that people would accept me.
So I think that thankfully it's not so strange to see a girl police officer here. When I got here in '98, there were, if I remember correctly, 3 others, so I was the 4th. One time through my service here, there was up to 6 of us. When I came back, there was 3 of us. Now there's another one added, so there's 4 of us. So I think Antigonish has been really lucky to have a lot of female representation within the detachment here, so within the community. So I don't get a lot of, it's a girl cop, or it's more, I find the mums will say to their daughters or their sons, look, it's a female, it's a woman, it's a girl, than the girls will say. But on the same note, I definitely want to be a role model for those girls. I want them to see that it's not just policemen, there are police women, or, let's make it police officers kind of thing. Let's make it more gender neutral or accepting in that sense.
Almost every time I'm introduced, people don't expect me to be the clergy, especially if I don't have my collar on. I've had a lot of people say, you're too young to do this, or, are you old enough to do this, or, oh, you must be the student here, or something, every type of version of that you can imagine, basically. And, I try and laugh about it, because what else can you do? So a lot of the time I just joke with them about it and say, we have to break the stereotypes, and I'm hoping that by not being the stereotypical, 50-something middle-aged man with the pot belly, I'm hoping I can just break through some of the traditional stereotypes people have about clergy and bring some new energy and some new ideas in that other people may not have.
There are common challenges here and overseas, and there are very different ones overseas, and much tougher ones overseas. I was telling somebody a story the other day about, it was probably only about maybe 20 years ago, and I was on a flight from Toronto to Vancouver, and I was, wearing a suit, and I was walking down the aisle of the plane, and the plane was pretty much full of professional men traveling, and there might have been one or two women traveling at that time for business. And I was asked to get a drink for somebody because people assumed this woman in this navy blue suit that I must have been a flight attendant. Why else would I be on that plane? That's changed a lot. That's changed dramatically. That's just a little, just a little anecdote.
Like, especially in sports, I guess. Sports is one thing that I can connect to. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you're definitely, like, my girlfriend and I played on a guys' hockey team, just a spring league, and it was for fun, and we were definitely not treated the same. I mean, some of the guys would treat us nicer, and some of us wouldn't. I don't know if it was the reason that maybe they thought we'd do better than they would, or that they just wanted to give us a chance at the same time. I don't know. They definitely treat you as if you're not as good, but in some aspects they do. It's definitely, I don't know.
We always have to, everyone always has to prove themselves so they can fulfill a role, but depending on the situation, females might have to try harder.
Yes, exactly.
I don't feel as if it's, I am going through anything like the hardships or anything like that my mother and my grandmother had gone through, because it's a different age than when they were my age. But at the same time, you still have that, still kind of have to work a little harder because I am a minority, and you still have to work a little harder because I am female and I am young. So I have all those things against me. But at the same time, I think this day and age, there's a lot more acceptance and I guess inclusivity for individuals like me and other women.
I was pretty lucky that that path was paved for me before I got in. I've certainly been in situations where you're still looked down upon. You're still not considered equal, but that's by the minority. I do find that by the majority of the public and the majority of the people that I work with in the RCMP that we are considered equals. So I haven't really run into any major obstacles in that sense.
The rest of the counselors, they treat me just the same as one of them. I don't get any special privileges.
Our bishop is female, Bishop Sue, and she's gone around. She actually came here a few years ago and gave a very interesting talk on female clergy and what it means to be a female clergy. And I think she pointed out a lot of interesting facts that just our generation kind of takes for granted, that if you want a job, you can do it. It doesn't matter if you're female. Like for me, that never entered into my mind when I decided that I wanted to be a priest, or when I felt called to be a priest. That never, ever entered my mind that, oh, maybe I can't because I'm female. Whereas my bishop has mentioned many times that, she can remember when it was a struggle, and she can remember when the first female was ordained for the Anglican Church, and how much of a huge accomplishment that was, and all the pain and struggles that went with it beforehand, with all the arguments and debates and everything. And it's something I try not to take for granted, but to the same end, I guess our generation is just so used to it.
My grandmother basically had two choices when she finished high school. It was to come to nursing here at St. Vax or to become a teacher. There was no other option for her, really, and then whenever she got married, she would quit either of those. There's just already a prescribed path for it. And although we don't really have that as much in our society now, girls can do whatever they would like to, we still face issues later on about whether to say, for example, leave the workforce when you start to have a family, or ideas like that. That's still prevalent, I think.
The things that I've done in my life, I always think back to, okay, well, my mother, wouldn't have had the opportunity to do that, or my grandmother certainly wouldn't have had the opportunity to do that. So, their experiences, I think it just comes back to the whole, Black community as a whole, just how far we've come and yet how far we've yet to come. Like, I acknowledge the past and the hardships and the struggles that, my mother, my grandmother, the elders in the community have gone through. So that's always in the back of my mind whenever I do things. I always, think back and reflect saying, this might be hard right now, but let's look at the opportunities that you're having now that, weren't present when other individuals were going through the same situation. So it's always in the back of my mind. But at the same time, I don't let it, hold me down.
I mean, I'm not naive to think that all women are equal yet, because they're not. But I like to think that we're at least above average here. But again, I don't see everything when I'm on duty. I don't see everyone's side of everything, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I think one of the larger issues, I can't say I've ever had any trouble with being the female in the room. I mean, the Anglican Church, at least our diocese now, is pretty close to being even. I think I have more issues with being the younger clergy compared to everyone else who's, seasoned veterans and know what they're doing, and I'm the newbie with new ideas and everything. So I think I have more issues along that lines than being female.
I'm really lucky to have an extremely supportive husband at home who doesn't work shift work. So he does carry the majority of the role at home because I do work shift work, and our shifts are 10 hours, so I'm gone in the morning before anybody else in my family. When I'm on days, I'm the last one home. And when I'm on nights, I'm sleeping through the day while they're all gone, and I'm gone before they get home again. So there are times where I can go days without seeing my children, which is tough. It's tough as a mom. Genetically, women carry a lot of mother's guilt, we call it, or mom's guilt. So I definitely have that, and the other part of balancing being a police officer is something that you take your work home with you. We try not to, but there are certain things that you see and do on the job that they affect you longer than you would like, or it takes some time for that to get out. And we have the other side of having to be healthy and fit, so we have to make time for all of that. So it's definitely difficult. It's not something that is my favorite part of the job, is trying to balance the work life. But it's something that I'm trying to do, and trying to be that role model for my kids as well as my community, in the sense that to show them that you have to give as much as you can to everything, and you have to prioritize it, and you have to make that decision on whether your family comes first, your work comes first, or you come first. And for me, it's not always consistent. Sometimes work has to come first because there are things to be done. The majority of the time I try to make my family come first. And again, as a woman and a mom, I think a lot of women would agree that most of the times we don't come first or second. We tend to put ourselves last. So it's hard to at least get ourselves on the list of some priority for ourselves. But yeah, to try and do that. But it's definitely, it's a challenge on a weekly basis. Yeah.
We only need to look at, like, the CEO of Yahoo right now is a woman. She has a daughter that's like 6 months old, right? Like, you can do that now if that's what you decide to. I think we have the personal choice now, but whether there's definitely people still have expectations and stereotypes associated with it. It's just whether you decide to accept them more. That's the issue now, as compared to we didn't have a choice in previous societies.
Yeah, you do see a lot more males staying at home rather than just women being the stay-at-home figure with their children. So that's also good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we are changing and we're going in the right path.
I think there should be more, but I think it's that woman's choice. Whether you give up a lot of your free time, you give up a lot of your social life. Like, you're on the telephone a great deal of time, you're on email a lot of the time, you're running to meetings constantly. So it's really hard to have a active social life and an active political career too.
In Botswana, where I worked and lived, a lot of people, were supportive, but there were others that were questioning, this person is the rural industrial officer for the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, responsible for the whole southern district of the country, and it's a woman. I did get, obviously I was hired for the position, but there were a lot of questions about that because it just hadn't been done before. But what was great is that people learned that I'm just another person in a leadership role and doing, providing leadership in the way that I would. And it opened up I think, lots of men's minds, and also opened up the opportunities for other women locally to see, oh, here's some possibilities here, she's doing it, I can do it. And the fact that I was a mom, you know, a young mom, I had my third child born in Botswana, and so a lot of people could see, oh my goodness, here's somebody who's got, you know, she's married, she's got 3 kids, and she's able to also do the kinds of things outside of the home that we might want to try.
I would find it very challenging if I was a young mother with a family to try to, especially if you are a mother with a family and a job. I would think that would be a real challenge for any woman.
Yeah, there's a long, long way to go before we have gender equality in Canada. And I think a lot of people confuse what it's going to take. A lot of people think, oh, well, we treat women and men the same, and therefore we will get the same result. Sometimes you need different things for different people in different contexts in order to get to that result of equality.
I think we still have a long way to go, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, we are moving in the right direction, and it's so much better than it was in the past. But just like when something's ingrained into history in our lives, it's hard to overcome that. But it's great for now, I guess, where we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.